want to bring you back here to the newsroom because we're following a few stories here, and one of them, Tyler, rather heartbreaking. I mean, we were in our morning meeting. You were telling us about this mother who lost their 10-year-old in a hit and run, and now we're learning a little bit more about how they may have lost multiple family members.
Yeah. Welcome to Shocking True Crime. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily updates on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe.
It was a night that should have been like any other. A family, just like countless others, crossing the street together, heading home. But in one heart-stopping moment, the world they knew was shattered. A young boy, no more than 10 years old, was struck down by a speeding car that didn't even slow down, didn't even think twice. His 14-year-old brother, his cousins, they tried, desperately, to save him, but there was nothing they could do. The driver, who would leave him just steps from a hospital, simply drove away. Who was the driver? How could someone, anyone, run down a child and not stop to help? This wasn't a moment of panic, this wasn't a mistake. No, this was something much colder. Someone made a choice that night, a choice that would unravel a family, a community, and the very fabric of human decency. As the pieces began to fall into place, a horrifying truth came to light. Brandy Jackson and her family are left to pick up the shattered pieces of a life that was stolen in an instant. A life full of promise, full of joy, extinguished. Caleb Jackson was a child who danced for the smallest joys, someone whose laughter echoed through the halls of his home. He was their heart, their everything. And now, he was gone. Just days after Christmas. And they were left to ask the question that would haunt them forever: why? David Blanchard has been arrested. But the questions remain. How could he do this? And more importantly, what happens now? A child's life, taken in an instant, abandoned in the darkness. A mother's cry for justice that echoes louder than the pain of loss. For Caleb Jackson, justice may never bring him back, but it will make sure that his story is never forgotten. Coming up, we explore the twisted motivations behind this hit and run. How did David Blanchard's past shape this tragic event? And what secrets will be uncovered as the investigation unfolds? Caleb Jackson was more than just a 10-year-old boy. He was the embodiment of joy, a boy with dreams too big for his small frame, laughter that filled any room, and an energy that was impossible to ignore. He didn't need much to be happy, just a toy to play with or a dance in the living room, and his world was complete. He was the heart of his family, a constant reminder of the simple joys of life, a boy who would never pass up an opportunity to smile. To Caleb's family, he wasn't just a boy, they saw him as the center of their world. His aunt, Belinda, often referred to him as their heart. Every moment with Caleb was one they cherished deeply. Brandy, Caleb's mother, remembers him as the child who always found a way to show gratitude, especially when he received that iPhone from Belinda. He didn't just say, "Thank you," he called her, his voice full of appreciation, making sure she knew just how much it meant to him. His joy was infectious, and his presence was a constant reminder of the warmth and love that family could provide. The pain of losing Caleb went beyond the heartbreak of losing a child. Earlier that year, the Jackson family had already endured a tragedy, the loss of Caleb's infant sister to SIDS. This was a family already grappling with grief, struggling to find their footing after one loss, when fate dealt them another cruel blow. Just days after Christmas, as they tried to find some semblance of normalcy in the wake of one devastating loss, another would come crashing down, leaving them shattered, asking themselves how this could happen to them. In the span of just a few months, the Jackson family had lost two of their greatest joys, and the question echoed through their minds: how do you recover from something like this? Caleb was no longer just a memory, he was a light that had been snuffed out far too soon. And as they struggled to heal from one loss, they found themselves face to face with another, the kind of tragedy that could tear a family apart. The Jackson family's journey of pain was far from over. As they faced the unimaginable loss of Caleb, they also had to confront a new, chilling reality, a world where their innocent, joyful son had been taken from them in an instant. And now, all they could do was search for answers. The fight for justice was just beginning. On that cold night in Clayton County, what started as an ordinary walk home became a nightmare. Caleb, his older brother, and two cousins crossed Riverdale Road, a path they had walked many times before. But on this particular night, as the car approached, it was the last moment of normalcy they would ever know. The screeching tires rang out, the sound of metal against flesh was deafening, and in the blink of an eye, Caleb's life was stolen from him. His older brother, his cousins, they were helpless, frozen in fear, unable to grasp the horror unfolding before them. Caleb lay there, just steps from help, but the driver, he didn't stop. The car didn't slow down. It just kept going, leaving a child to die alone on the pavement. David Blanchard, 52 years old, the man behind the wheel, had been charged with homicide by vehicle and hit and run. But even as the evidence mounted against him, Blanchard seemed unmoved. There was no remorse in his voice, no guilt in his eyes. As the police grilled him in the interrogation room, his answers were cold, his demeanor unfazed. Despite Caleb's family being only steps away from Southern Regional Hospital, Blanchard chose to flee the scene. Why? Why did he leave a child in need of help, a child whose life could have been saved just by stopping, by showing a shred of compassion? David Blanchard had a clear choice that night. He could have stopped, rushed to Caleb's side, and possibly saved his life. But instead, he made the choice to drive away. He left Caleb, a child, lying in the street, steps away from the help he so desperately needed. The horror of that moment doesn't just lie in the fact that Caleb was struck, it lies in the fact that someone, a grown man, chose to walk away from a child's life like it meant nothing. This wasn't a moment of panic. It wasn't an accident. This was cold indifference. As the investigation unfolded, the question remained, what kind of person could do this? What kind of heartless individual could drive away from a child in need, knowing they were just steps away from help? For Caleb's family, the search for answers grew more urgent with each passing day. And for the community of Clayton County, the disbelief and anger only deepened. The man responsible was sitting in a room, refusing to show any sign of remorse. And for them, it was as if Caleb had been forgotten, left to die in the street with no one to even try and save him. As the investigation unfolded, something extraordinary began to happen. The pain of Caleb's death quickly turned into a rallying cry. The community, already burdened by the weight of grief, found their voices. Anger filled the streets of Clayton County, anger at the driver who had left Caleb lying in the road, alone and dying. And with that anger came the burning question, one that no one could stop asking, how could someone leave a child to die like this? It wasn't just Caleb's family feeling the sting of his loss. His death had shaken the very foundation of the community, a place where people still believed in decency and compassion. And now, they were fighting for justice, not just for Caleb, but for every child whose life could be taken so thoughtlessly. Blanchard's arrest brought a temporary sense of relief to the Jackson family and the community. But that relief was short-lived. The battle for justice had only just begun. In the cold, sterile courtroom, the severity of what Blanchard had done started to sink in. The case was clear, he had taken a life and left it to wither in the street, but the real question was how to hold someone accountable for something so horrific. Could any punishment be enough for a man who abandoned a child, not even pausing to help, just leaving him behind like a forgotten piece of trash? The cold indifference with which Blanchard had acted haunted every moment of the trial, as the family and community waited to see if the justice system would deliver the truth they so desperately needed. As the trial progressed, a wave of frustration and anticipation washed over the Jackson family. They sat in that courtroom, every moment weighing heavily on them. The memories of Caleb, his laughter, his life cut short, were never far from their minds. They had seen the coldness in Blanchard's eyes. They had witnessed his indifference. But now they were about to find out if the system that promised justice would actually deliver it. Even as the legal process began to unfold, a sense of unease lingered. The Jackson family knew that the legal system, despite its promises, doesn't always deliver the justice it should. Was Blanchard going to walk away with a slap on the wrist, or would he be held accountable for his cold-hearted actions? The community had rallied behind Kolob's family, but would it be enough to push the legal system to do what was right? The tension was building, and for Kolob's family, the fear of being let down was all too real. The fallout from Kolob's death rippled far beyond his family. The question that haunted every moment since that fateful night was one no one could answer: how could someone be so heartless? How could a driver, a grown man, make the choice to leave a child behind on the street, alone and suffering? For the Jackson family, the emotional toll wasn't just about losing Kolob, it was the constant agony of wondering whether, in his final moments, he was aware of what happened, whether he knew help was so close but never came. The torment of those unknowns gnawed at them every day. For Kolob's older brother, the nightmare never ended. He had been the one closest to him that night, the one who tried, desperately, to save him. And yet, he couldn't stop the car, couldn't save his little brother from what was to come. The scars on his heart, the guilt, would stay with him for a lifetime. No child should have to experience something like that, not just the pain of losing a sibling, but the trauma of being helpless to stop it. That night would forever haunt him, shaping the person he would become in ways no one could predict. In the wake of Kolob's death, something remarkable happened. The community, devastated by the loss of one of their own, did more than just mourn, they rose up, demanding that Kolob's life not be forgotten. The grief that filled the Jackson household was shared by all who lived in Clayton County. They could not, and would not, let Kolob's story end in silence. Advocacy groups for victims of hit-and-run accidents rallied around the family, pushing for stricter laws and harsher penalties against those who left innocent lives in their wake. For the Jacksons, the fight was not just for justice for Kolob, it was for every family who had been affected by the callousness of those who refused to stop. Out of Kolob's tragic death came a collective resolve. Victim advocacy groups, local activists, and everyday citizens all joined forces to fight for something bigger than just a conviction. They demanded change in the law, ensuring that no one else would have to suffer the same fate as Kolob. They stood together, showing that even in the deepest of grief, there could be hope, a hope that Kolob's life, his joy, and his potential would not be erased, but instead used to fuel a movement for justice. The Jackson family's pain was far from over, but as they fought for justice, they were not alone. The community had embraced them, and together, they began to piece together the broken parts of their world. But the questions remained. Was justice truly achievable? Would Blanchard be held accountable for the life he had taken? As the fight continued, one thing was clear: Kolob Jackson's life would never be forgotten. The Jackson family's journey toward healing is far from over. The loss of Kolob is a wound that will never fully heal. But his legacy, the joy he brought to his family, his love for life, his deep appreciation for the smallest gestures, will never fade. Kolob's laughter, his energy, his innocent joy will remain etched in the hearts of those who knew him. For his mother, Brandy, and his family, his memory is both a gift and a sorrow they will carry with them forever. Though Kolob is gone, they have vowed to fight for justice, not only for him but for every victim of the kind of senseless violence that stole his life. His name will not be forgotten. His fight for justice is just beginning. But in the end, can any punishment truly be enough? Will David Blanchard's heartlessness be held to account for taking a child's life, for leaving him alone, in the street, just steps away from help? Or will Kolob's family, forever scarred by this tragedy, find some kind of solace in knowing that their fight for justice will never end? Even if the legal system offers them closure, will they ever truly be healed from the pain of their loss? In the darkest moments, the human spirit often rises. Kolob Jackson's story is one of heartbreak, yes, but it is also a story of strength. A family that lost so much, yet refused to give up on their fight for justice. They have shown us the power of love, the depth of pain, and the unwavering determination to ensure that the memory of a young boy's life is never erased. Though Kolob is gone, his story lives on, in the hearts of those who loved him and in the battle for justice that continues. Though this chapter of Kaleb's story has ended, his legacy will continue to inspire those who fight for justice. And as his family presses on, they carry with them the knowledge that their son's life, however brief, has made a lasting impact. Kaleb Jackson may have been taken too soon, but his spirit, his legacy, and his family's fight will never be forgotten. And don't forget to click the bell to stay notified of future episodes where we'll uncover more real-life crime stories, exploring the complexity of human nature and the consequences of our actions.
Welcome to Shocking True Crime. Thanks to all our viewers and subscribers for your support. Stay with us for daily updates on the most shocking true crime stories. Don't forget to subscribe.